The ice storm hit harder than Day One expected. His small ship shook and twisted in the frozen wind, alarms screaming in his ears. He gripped the controls and pushed forward, searching for shelter. Through the white chaos outside, he saw it. An old research station, dark and abandoned, sitting alone on the frozen planet. "Hey One, can we make it?" he asked his ship's computer. "Hull damage at 40%, the calm voice replied. "We need to land now." Day One brought the ship down hard. Metal scraped against ice. Something in the engine made a terrible sound, then went quiet. He sat in the pilot seat for a moment, breathing hard. Another close call. Another day surviving in the empty spaces between stars. He grabbed his gear and stepped outside. The cold hit him like a wall. Even through his thermal suit, he could feel it trying to get in. The research station loomed ahead, covered in frost and ice. The windows were dark. No lights, no heat signatures. Dead for years, probably. The main door was frozen shut. Day One used his cutting torch to melt through the ice. The door groaned open, and he stepped into darkness. His helmet light cut through the gloom. Broken equipment, scattered papers frozen to the floor. An old coffee cup on a desk, the liquid inside turned to brown ice. Something had happened here. Something bad. But that was years ago. Now it was just him and the cold. He set up his portable heater in the main bay where his ship sat. The small device hummed to life, pushing back the cold in a tiny circle of warmth. Day One pulled out his repair tools and started working on the ship. 2 days, maybe 3. And he could leave this frozen rock behind. A sound made him stop. A scraping, like metal on metal. He turned, slowly, hand moving to the stun pistol on his belt. "Who's there?" he called out. Silence. Then, movement in the shadows. Something tall and thin stepped into his light. Day One had seen many alien species in his years traveling the stars, but this one still made him pause. She stood almost 7 feet tall, her body covered in dark blue plates that looked like armor. 4 arms, each ending in delicate fingers. 2 antennae rose from her head, one of them broken halfway up. Large black eyes, like pools of oil, stared at him without blinking. A Velcorin. He recognized the species from his military days. They were known for being cold, logical, and completely emotionless. They ran a massive empire built on pure reason and perfect control. "You are human," she said. Her voice was strange, like music played through broken glass. "Yeah," Day One replied, hand still on his pistol. "Ship damage. I'll be gone in 2 days. You should leave sooner." She stepped closer, and he could see how thin she was. Too thin. Her armor plates didn't fit right anymore. "This place is not safe." "Safe from what?" "From dying slowly," she gestured around the frozen station. "As I have been doing for 3 solar cycles." Day One's mind did the math. 3 Velcorin solar cycles. That was about 8 months in Earth time. "You've been here alone for 8 months?" "Yes." "What happened to your crew?" "Dead. Our ship crashed on the far side of this planet. I am the only survivor." She said it with no emotion, like reporting the weather. "I made it here. I sent distress signals. No one came." Day One looked at her more carefully. She was dying. He could see it in how she moved, slow and careful, like every step hurt. Her broken antenna. The cracks in her armor plates. Velcorins were tough, but nothing could survive this cold forever. "I have medical supplies," he said. "And food. You can..." "No." The word came out sharp. "I do not need human charity. It's not charity. It's common sense. You're dying. Then I will die with dignity." She turned to walk away. "Leave me alone." Human. Day One watched her disappear into the shadows. Stubborn. Proud. Typical Velcorin. He'd heard stories about their culture, how they removed emotions from their people, how asking for help was considered the ultimate shame. He went back to work on his ship, but his mind kept wandering to the alien woman somewhere in the dark station. 8 months alone in the cold. He couldn't imagine it. Hours passed. His ship's computer, Hey One, chirped a warning. temperature dropping rapidly. External reading is now -50 Celsius. -60, expected after dark. Can the station's heating system work? Day-1 asked. Minimal power remains. Only one room has functional heating. The old mess hall. Day-1 gathered his equipment and moved to the mess hall. It was small, with walls that were mostly intact. Ice covered the windows, but at least they weren't broken. He set up his heater and his sleeping bag. The temperature inside rose to almost freezing. Warm, compared to outside. He made some food and sat eating, thinking about the Velcoran woman. She was somewhere in this station with no heat. With the temperature dropping this low, even her tough body would start shutting down. Not his problem, he told himself. She refused help. He couldn't force her, but the thought wouldn't leave him alone. Darkness fell, and the temperature dropped like a stone. -60. -70. Day-1 sat by his heater, listening to the wind howl outside. He tried to sleep, but kept listening for sounds in the station. Around midnight, he heard it. A distant crash. Then, silence. He waited. Nothing. Not my problem, he said out loud. He lay down and closed his eyes. Tried to sleep. Couldn't. With a curse, he grabbed his thermal torch and went looking. The station was a maze of frozen corridors. His breath came out in clouds even inside his helmet. He followed a trail, small scrapes on the ice, marks where someone had dragged themselves along the wall. He found her outside the mess hall door. She had collapsed on the floor, one hand reaching toward the door like she didn't have the strength left to knock. Day-1 knelt beside her. Her black eyes were open but unfocused. Her body was cold. Colder than it should be even for a Velcoran. Stubborn, he muttered. He picked her up. She was lighter than he expected, despite being so tall. All that armor, but nothing inside. Just bones and fading life. He carried her into the mess hall and laid her near the heater. She didn't resist. Couldn't resist. He wrapped her in his emergency blankets. All three of them. Slowly, very slowly, the shivering started. That was good. Shivering meant her body was still trying to fight. Her eyes focused on him. Why? She whispered. Because I'm too stubborn to watch someone freeze to death, he said. I refused your help. Yeah, well, I'm refusing your refusal. For the first time, something moved in those black eyes. He couldn't read it. But it was there. She didn't say thank you, but she didn't leave either. Morning came slowly on the frozen planet. The darkness faded to gray, but the cold stayed. Day-1 woke to find the Velcoran woman still wrapped in his blankets, watching him with those strange black eyes. You stayed awake all night, she said. It wasn't a question. Someone had to keep the heater running. He stretched, feeling every muscle complain. What's your name? She was quiet for a long moment. Yuna. I'm Day-1. He pulled out 2 ration bars and offered her one. You need to eat. Yuna looked at the bar like it was poison. This is human food. It will not sustain me properly. It'll keep you alive longer than nothing. He took a bite of his own bar. Unless you have something better hidden away? She didn't answer, which was answer enough. After a long pause, she took the bar and ate it slowly. Day-1 pretended not to watch. But he could see how hungry she was. How long had it been since she'd eaten? As the day went on, Yuna stayed near the heater. She didn't talk much, and Day-1 didn't push. He worked on his ship, checking the damage. It was worse than he thought. 3 days, maybe 4, if nothing else broke. Hey one, he said to his ship's computer. Can this station synthesize Velcoran food? Checking databases, the calm voice replied. Yes. The research labs have food synthesis equipment. However, they require specific nutrient data for Velcoran biology. Do we have that data? I can extrapolate from medical databases. However, the labs are in Section C, which has no power or heating. Day-1 looked back at the mess hall where Yuna sat. She was examining her broken antenna with her upper set of arms, touching it carefully. She looked so alone, He made a decision. "Yuna," he called out. "We're going on a trip." She turned those black eyes on him. "Where?" "The labs. We're going to make you some real food. That section has no heat. You will freeze. Then we better work fast." They suited up. Day 1 in his thermal gear, Yuna in what remained of her environmental suit. It was damaged, patched with ice, and frozen sealant. They moved through the dark corridors together, their lights cutting through the gloom. "Why are you doing this?" Yuna asked as they walked. "Doing what?" "Helping me. Your species is known for this. The other races do not understand it." Day 1 thought about that. "Maybe we're just stubborn." "That is not an answer. It's the only one I have." They walked in silence for a while. Then Yuna spoke again, her voice quieter. "My people do not help each other this way. We are taught that depending on others makes us weak." "Sounds lonely." "It is logical. Logic doesn't keep you warm at night." Yuna made a sound that might have been a laugh. Or maybe a cough. It was hard to tell. The lab was a mess. Equipment had frozen and cracked. Computers were dead. But the synthesis machine was still intact, buried under a layer of frost. Day 1 and Yuna worked together to clear it, their breath coming out in white clouds. "Tell me about your crew," Day 1 said as they worked. "What happened to them?" Yuna was quiet for so long that he thought she wouldn't answer. Then she started talking, her voice flat and emotionless. "We were running, my crew and I. We discovered something the Concordat did not want discovered." She paused, scraping ice off a panel. "Velcorans are not born without emotions. They are taken from us, chemically, from birth." Day 1 stopped working. "What?" "For 10,000 years, our leaders have suppressed our emotions. They tell us it makes us strong, pure, logical." Her hands moved faster, almost angry. "My crew found evidence, proof that emotions can be restored, that we are not meant to be cold. What happened when you tried to expose it?" "They hunted us, called us defective, dangerous." Her voice cracked, just slightly. "We ran. We crashed. They died. I lived. I'm sorry." Sorry is an emotion. It serves no logical purpose. Maybe not, but it's real. They got the synthesis machine working. Day 1 fed in the data, and the machine hummed to life. It took an hour, but finally it produced a thick paste. Velcoran food, not much, but enough for a week. Yuna took the container with all 4 hands. She stared at it like she couldn't believe it was real. Then she ate. Quickly. Desperately. When she was done, she just sat there, on the frozen floor. Then something impossible happened. Water started running down her face from her black eyes. "No," she whispered. "No, this is wrong. I am dying. This is a symptom of system failure." Daewon knelt beside her. "You're not dying. You're crying. Velcorans do not cry. We cannot. You are now." She looked at him, terrified. Her whole body was shaking. "Make it stop. Please. I do not know what this is. It's okay." Day 1 did something he never thought he'd do. He took one of her 4 hands in his. It was cold, hard, covered in armor plates, but it trembled. "You're feeling something. That's not death. That's life." "I do not want to feel," she said, but her voice was breaking. "Feeling hurts." "Yeah," Day 1 said softly. "It does." They sat there in the frozen lab until Yuna's crying stopped. Then the alarms started. "Warning," Haewon's voice came through Day 1's helmet. "Major ice storm approaching. Category 5. Arrival in 30 minutes. Recommend immediate shelter." They ran. The corridors seemed longer on the way back. The temperature was already dropping. -80. -90. The storm hit before they reached the mess hall. The lights died. Complete darkness. The wind howled like a living thing, and the whole station shook. Ice formed on the walls, faster than Day 1 could see it. "We can't make it to the mess hall," Yuna said. "There." Day one's light found a maintenance closet. Small, barely big enough for both of them. But it had a door. They squeezed inside and shut the door. The darkness was total. The cold pressed in from all sides. Day one activated his thermal suit to maximum. But he could already feel it struggling. "Your suit won't last through this storm," Yuna said. "I know. You should have left me in the lab." "Not how humans work." Day one felt her move in the darkness. Then her forearms wrapped around him, and her body pressed against his. Her armor plates, warmed by his thermal suit, became a shield against the cold. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Being illogical," she replied. They held each other in the darkness as the storm screamed outside. Two beings from different worlds, keeping each other alive through the longest night. "Day one," Yuna said softly. "Yeah? Thank you for teaching me how to cry." He smiled in the darkness. "Thank you for being stubborn enough to live." The storm raged on. The storm lasted 18 hours. Day one and Yuna stayed pressed together in the tiny maintenance closet, sharing warmth in the darkness. They talked to stay awake. Sleep in this cold meant death. "Tell me about Earth," Yuna said. Her voice was weak but curious. "It's warm," Day one replied. "Most places. Anyway. Blue skies. Green grass. Oceans that don't freeze. I have never seen an ocean that was not ice. They're beautiful. Scary too. Deep and wild and full of life. Tell me more." So he did. He told her about rain that wasn't frozen. About forests where trees grew so tall you couldn't see the top. About cities filled with millions of people, all talking and laughing and living together. He talked until his voice was rough, and she listened to every word. When the storm finally ended, they crawled out of the closet. Day one's thermal suit was almost dead. His fingers were numb, and his legs barely worked. Yuna had to help him walk back to the mess hall. "The human saves the alien, then the alien saves the human," she said as she lowered him near the heater. "There is a strange balance to this. That's how it works." Day one managed through chattering teeth. "We take turns." Over the next day, they fell into a rhythm. Day one worked on his ship when he had the strength. Yuna helped him, learning human technology surprisingly fast. They shared food. They shared stories. Slowly, the walls between them came down. "Why did you leave your military?" Yuna asked one evening as they sat by the heater. Day one was quiet for a long time. "I had a squadron. Good people. We were sent to defend a colony from raiders. We won, but..." He stopped, staring at the flames. "I was the only one who came back. And you blamed yourself. I was the leader. It was my call that got them killed. That is not logical. War has casualties. You could not control every variable. Maybe not. But I could have tried harder. Been smarter. Faster." He looked at his hands. "After that, I couldn't stand being around people. Couldn't stand getting close to anyone. Because if I did, I might lose them too." Yuna touched his shoulder with one of her hands. The gesture was awkward, unsure, like she was learning how. "So, you came out here? To the empty places? To be alone?" "Yeah, I understand that feeling now." She pulled her hand back. "The Concordat taught us that being alone is strength. But I think they lied. Being alone is just being alone. It is not strength, it is emptiness." "When did you figure that out?" "When you gave me your blankets. When you carried me inside. When you held my hand in the lab." She looked at him with those deep black eyes. "Emotions are confusing, but I think I am grateful for them. Even the painful ones." Days passed. Day one's ship repairs were almost done. He could leave in maybe 12 hours. The thought should have made him happy. Freedom. Back to his simple life of solitude and salvage. But every time he looked at Yuna, he felt something heavy in his chest. "What will you do when I leave?" he asked. She didn't answer right away. When she did, her voice was quiet. "Wait. I suppose. The heating will last another week." Maybe 2. Perhaps a ship will come. You know no ship is coming. You've been here 8 months. I know. Come with me then. She looked up sharply. What? Come with me. My ship has room for 2. We can get you to a colony. Somewhere safe. The Concordat would find me. They are always searching for defectives like me. Then we go somewhere they can't reach. The free colonies. Human space. Somewhere. Why would you do this? You came here to be alone. You said so yourself. Daewon ran a hand through his hair. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe being alone isn't what I need. Maybe. He trailed off. Not sure how to say it. Maybe what? Maybe I'm tired of running from people who might need me. Maybe I'm tired of running from needing people. 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 Yuna stood up and walked to the frozen window. She looked out at the ice and darkness. If I come with you, you will be in danger. The Concordat does not forgive. They will hunt us both. Let them try. You would risk your life for me? After knowing me for only days? Yeah, that is illogical. Probably. But humans don't always make sense. She turned back to him, and in her black eyes he saw something new. Fear. Hope, both at once. I do not know how to be around people anymore. I do not know how to feel things correctly. I might be difficult. That's okay. I'm difficult too. You might regret this. I regret a lot of things. But I don't think you'll be one of them. Yuna was quiet for a long time. Then she nodded, just slightly. Then I will come with you. Daewon smiled. It felt strange. He hadn't smiled in a long time. Good. We leave tomorrow morning. That night, as they prepared to sleep, Yuna spoke from across the room. Daewon? Yeah? What happens if the Concordat catches us? Then we deal with it together. Together, she repeated the word slowly, like testing how it felt. I like that word. Me too. Sleep came easier that night. The cold was still there. The darkness was still there. But somehow, it didn't feel as heavy. Morning arrived with bad news. Scanning long-range sensors, Haewon's voice interrupted their breakfast. Warning. Velcorin Concordat patrol ship detected. Entering this system. Arrival time. 90 minutes. Daewon's blood went cold. Are they scanning for us? Affirmative. They are broadcasting search patterns consistent with hunting defective Velcorins. He looked at Yuna. She had gone very still, all 4 hands clenched into fists. They found me, she whispered. After all this time, they found me. Can we run? Daewon asked his ship. Negative. Our engines are repaired but not calibrated. We cannot achieve escape velocity before they arrive, and we cannot outrun a Concordat warship. The room was silent except for the wind outside. Yuna stood up slowly. You should leave without me. Take your ship and go. They want me, not you. You can still escape. No. Daewon, please. You said you came here to avoid losing people. He stood up and faced her. I said a lot of stupid things before I met you. I'm done running. I'm done being alone. I'm done letting people die when I could help them. You cannot help me. Not against a warship. Watch me. This is insane. This is suicide. Yeah, probably. He started pulling up his ship's systems, thinking fast. But humans are really good at doing insane things when someone we care about is in trouble. Yuna stared at him. You care about me? Of course I do, you stubborn alien. Now help me figure out how we're going to survive this. For the first time since he'd met her, Yuna smiled. It was small and unsure, like she wasn't quite sure how smiling worked. But it was there. Insane, she said. But I will help you. Together, they started planning. The Concordat was coming. The cold was waiting. And 2 very different beings decided that maybe, just maybe, they could find a way to survive. After all, humans were stubborn. And Yuna was learning how to be stubborn too. Day 1 stared at the long-range scanner. The Concordate ship was getting closer. Big. Armed. Built to hunt and kill. Hey 1, options, he said. Limited. We cannot fight. We cannot run. We can hide. But they will scan the entire planet's surface within 3 hours. What about the old communications array? Can we use it? The array is functional but has minimal power. You could send one short-range message before the system dies. One message. Day 1 thought hard. Who could help them out here in the middle of nowhere? Who would even care? Then it hit him. The Free Traders Guild. They were human. And they had a code. Never abandon someone calling for help. It was stupid. It was hopeful. It was exactly the kind of human thing that might work. Send this message, Day 1 said. He gave Hay-1 an old military code. One he swore he'd never use again. It meant, refugee in need. Hostile pursuit. Any free trader ship that heard it was honor-bound to respond. Message sent. Hay-1 confirmed. However, the nearest guild ship is 4 hours away. The Concordat arrives in 70 minutes. Yuna was listening from the doorway. They will kill us both long before help arrives. Maybe, maybe not. Day 1 pulled up the old communications panel. Let's make them think twice. What are you doing? Something incredibly stupid. He activated his old Earth Defense Force credentials and opened a direct channel to the approaching warship. This is former Captain Day 1 Kim of the Earth Defense Force. You are approaching a human rescue operation. State your intentions. For a moment, there was only static. Then a voice came through, cold and precise. This is Commander Jin Ho of the Velcoran Concordat warship Absolute Logic. You have no authority here, human. We are pursuing a defective criminal. Surrender them immediately. Negative. The individual you're hunting has requested asylum under human protection. She's under my care now. She is Velcoran property. Your primitive laws do not apply. And your laws don't apply to humans. We have a problem then. Not a problem, a delay. We will take the defective. If you interfere, you will die with her. Yuna grabbed Day 1's arm with 2 of her hands. Stop this. You cannot win against them. Please. He muted the channel for a moment and looked at her. Do you trust me? That is not the question. The question is, do you wish to die? Do you trust me? He repeated. She stared at him for a long moment, then, quietly, yes. I trust you. Good, then let me work. He unmuted the channel. Commander Jinho. You're right. I can't win against you. I'm just one human, with a broken salvage ship and no weapons. Then you will surrender the defective. Not quite. See, there's something you should know about humans. We're stubborn. Unreasonably, illogically stubborn. Especially when someone asks us for help. Your stubbornness will not stop my weapons. No, but it'll make you think about what comes after. There was a pause. Explain. Day 1 took a breath. This was the gamble. You can kill us both. Easily. But then you'll have to explain how you killed a human citizen who was conducting a rescue operation. And humans? We don't forget things like that. The Concordat does not fear human retaliation for one worthless ship. Not one ship. But what about 100? 1,000? You know how we are. Some human hears that I died protecting a refugee. And they'll be angry. They'll tell other humans. And those humans will remember, forever. Empty threats. Are they? Let me paint you a picture, Commander. In 6 months, human ships start showing up at your borders. Free traders. Merchants. Explorers. They don't attack. They don't invade. They just watch. They just remember. And every time one of your ships needs to cross through human space, someone will ask about me. About what happened here. We would respond with force. And that's when it gets ugly. Because humans are really good at holding grudges. We're really good at making life difficult for people who hurt our own. You want to explain to your superiors why you started a conflict with Earth Alliance over one defective Velcoran? Silence on the channel. Day 1 could almost hear Jinho calculating. running the numbers. Velkarins were logical. They made decisions based on risk and benefit. And right now, Day One was making the risk very clear. "You are bluffing," Jinho finally said. "Try me and find out." More silence. Yuna was staring at him like he'd grown a second head. "What are you doing?" she whispered. "Making him think," Day One whispered back. Jinho's voice returned, colder than before. "Because she asked for help. That's enough. Emotions make you weak. Maybe. But they also make us dangerous when you threaten people we care about." Another long pause. Then, "You have doomed her. Human. Without her suppressants, her emotions will destroy her from within. She will beg for death. Then I'll be there when she needs me." Illogical, probably, but it's what we do. The channel went dead. On the scanner, the Concordat ship stopped approaching. It held position. Not advancing. Not retreating. "What is happening?" Yuna asked. "He's thinking. Deciding if I'm worth the trouble." They waited. Minutes crawled by like hours. The Concordat ship sat there. A predator deciding if the prey was worth the risk. Then, slowly, it turned away. "The Concordat ship is leaving the system," Hay-1 reported. Day One let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. "We did it." "No," Yuna said quietly. "You did it. You faced down a warship with nothing but words. Words and stubbornness." She sat down heavily, all four hands shaking. "I do not understand humans. You should have let me die. It was logical. Safe. Safe is overrated. You could have died for me." "Yeah. Why?" Day One looked at her. Really looked at her. This alien who had been alone in the cold for 8 months. Who had learned to cry. Who smiled when she didn't know how. Who trusted him even when logic said she shouldn't. "Because some things are worth dying for," he said. "And some people are worth living for." Yuna made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. "Humans are insane. Completely." They sat in silence for a while. Then Yuna spoke again. Her voice so quiet he almost missed it. "The free trader's ship, when will it arrive?" 3 hours maybe. And you will leave with them." Day One felt something cold settle in his chest. "We both will." "No." She shook her head. "They will take you to safety. But I am hunted. The Concordat will never stop looking for me. Anywhere I go, I bring danger. Maybe one, so we deal with it. You have already risked enough for me. Yuna, please." She looked at him with those black eyes. And for the first time, he could read everything in them. Fear, sadness, loneliness. "Please, when your people come, go with them. Leave me here. I will manage somehow. You'll freeze to death in 2 weeks, perhaps, but you will be safe." "I don't want to be safe. I want..." He stopped. "What do you want?" "I don't know. Something more than being alone. Something more than just surviving." She stood up and walked to the window. Her reflection stared back at her in the ice. "I have been alone for so long," she said softly. "In the cold, in the dark. And I have learned that alone is not strength. It is pain. It is emptiness. It is death of everything that matters. Then don't be alone. You do not understand." "I cannot." Her voice broke. She pressed one hand against the frozen glass. "I cannot ask you to stay. I cannot ask anyone to stay. That is weakness." Day One stood up and walked to her. "Then don't ask. Just tell me what you want." Yuna was quiet for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. "I want not to be alone. I want someone to care if I live or die. I want..." She turned to face him, and tears were running down her face again. "I want you to stay. Please. I am begging you. Do not leave me in this cold, lonely place. I cannot do it again. Well, I cannot do it again." The words seemed to cost her everything. Every piece of Velcoran pride, every wall she'd built around herself. They fell away, and what was left was just someone who was terrified of being abandoned. Day one took her hand. "I'm not going anywhere without you. You promise?" "I promise." She pulled him into a hug, all four arms wrapped around him. She was shaking, crying into his shoulder, and Day one held her back. This alien woman who had learned to feel again in the coldest place in the galaxy. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for staying." Outside, the stars shone cold and distant. But inside the mess hall, two people held each other against the darkness, and for the first time in a long time, neither of them was alone. 3 hours later, a ship appeared in the sky above the frozen station. It was old, patched together from a dozen different types of metal, but it flew like it owned the stars. The Free Traders Guild emblem shone on its side, a hand holding a star. Daewon and Yuna stood in the station's landing bay, watching it descend. The ship touched down with a groan of metal, and the door opened. A man stepped out, tall and broad-shouldered, with gray hair and a face covered in scars. "Taeyang," Daewon breathed. The man's face split into a huge grin. "You stubborn bastard. I knew you weren't dead. What are you doing here? I've been looking for you for 2 years. You idiot." Taeyang walked over and grabbed Daewon in a crushing hug. "After the squadron, after everything, you just disappeared. I thought maybe you'd—" He trailed off. "I tried to disappear," Daewon admitted. "Didn't work out." Taeyang looked at Yuna. "This the refugee you sent the code for?" "This is Yuna. Yuna, this is Taeyang. We served together." Yuna bowed slightly, uncertain. "Thank you for coming. Any friend of Daewon's is under guild protection now." Taeyang's expression grew serious. "Though I should tell you, the Concordat isn't happy. They've been sending messages all over this sector, claiming you're a dangerous criminal." "I am defective," Yuna said quietly. "By their standards. Well, by human standards. You're a person in need of help. And that's what matters." He turned to Daewon. "What's the plan? Get her somewhere safe. Free colonies, maybe. The Concordat watches those borders. Then we go deeper into human space. Somewhere they won't follow." Taeyang nodded slowly. "We can do that. But Daewon, they're going to keep looking. Both of you will need to be careful." "We will be." "We?" Taeyang raised an eyebrow. "So you're sticking with her?" "Yeah. And you're done with the whole lone salvager in the dark routine?" Daewon looked at Yuna. She was watching him with those black eyes, waiting to see what he'd say. "Yeah, I'm done with that," Taeyang grinned. "About time. You were always terrible at being alone." He clapped Daewon on the shoulder. "Come on. Let's get off this frozen rock before another storm hits." They loaded what little equipment they had onto Taeyang's ship. Daewon took one last look at the station where he'd crashed, where he'd found someone who needed help, where he'd learned to stop running. "Ready?" Yuna asked beside him. "Yeah, let's go home." "I do not have a home." "Then we'll find one. Together." She took his hand. "Together." I like that word more each time I hear it. The ship lifted off, leaving the frozen station behind. As they broke atmosphere, Daewon looked back at the planet one last time. From space, it was just a white ball covered in ice. Cold. Lonely. Empty. But for a few days, it had been the place where two very different people learned they didn't have to be alone. 6 months later, everything was different. Daewon's salvage ship was still old and patched together, but now it had room for two. The cargo bay had been converted into living quarters. The cockpit had 2 seats instead of 1, and the name painted on the side had changed from Wanderer to Together. Approaching the debris field, Hai-1 announced. Scanning for salvage. Daewon piloted the ship while Yuna monitored the sensors. She had learned human technology fast. Faster than he expected. Her 4 hands made her surprisingly good at multitasking. 3 valuable pieces detected, she reported. Including intact power cores. Good catch. That'll pay for fuel and then some. They worked in comfortable silence, the kind that came from spending months together in a small ship. They had a routine now. Day 1 handled the flying and the heavy lifting. Yuna managed the technical work and the negotiations. Together, they made a good team. As they secured the salvage, Yuna suddenly went still. Day 1. I am detecting a Concordat patrol ship. Long range, but heading this way. His jaw tightened. Do they see us? Unknown. They are running standard search patterns. They'd encountered Concordat ships 3 times in the past 6 months. Each time, they'd managed to slip away before being identified. But it was getting closer. More dangerous. Let's jump out of here, Day 1 said. No reason to take chances. They engaged the faster-than-light drive and left the debris field behind. When they were safely away, Yuna let out a breath. This will never end, will it? She asked quietly. They will always be searching. Probably. Does that frighten you? Sometimes. But not enough to make me regret anything. She touched his shoulder with one hand. It was a gesture she'd learned from him. One that meant comfort. Support. I'm here. I still have nightmares, she admitted. About the station. About the cold. About being alone in the dark. I know. I hear you sometimes at night. I am sorry if I wake you. Don't be. That's what I'm here for. She was quiet for a moment. The emotions are still difficult. Sometimes they overwhelm me. Velkarans were not meant to feel this much. You're doing fine. How can you tell? Because you're still here. Still trying. Still learning. He smiled at her. That's all anyone can do. Later that evening, they sat in the small living quarters, sharing a meal. Yuna had learned to cook human food, though her creations were interesting. Day 1 ate them anyway. I have been thinking, Yuna said as they ate. About what? About that night, when I begged you to stay. She set down her food. In Velkaran culture, that was the ultimate shame. Begging. Showing weakness. Admitting need. I know, but it was also the most honest moment of my life. The first time I truly asked for what I wanted, instead of what logic dictated. She looked at him. You gave me that. You gave me the ability to ask for help. You gave me something too, Day 1 said. What? A reason to stop running. A reason to care about someone again. Even if it's scary. Yuna reached across the table and took his hand. Are you scared now? Terrified. The Concordat could catch us any day. We're living on the edge, always looking over our shoulders. Then why do you smile so much now? He thought about that. Because I'm terrified with you. And somehow that's better than being safe and alone. She smiled back. That, uncertain, learning smile that he'd grown to love. Humans are strange. Yeah, we are. They finished their meal and prepared for sleep. The ship's quarters were small, with 2 bunks built into the wall, but most nights, they ended up pushing the bunks together, because Yuna still had nightmares about the cold, and Day 1 still woke up checking to make sure she was there. As they settled in for the night, Yuna spoke into the darkness. Day 1? Yeah, thank you. For what? For being too stubborn to leave me on that cold, lonely night. He reached out and found her hand in the dark. Thank you for giving me a reason to stay. What will we do tomorrow? Find more salvage. Avoid the Concordat. Maybe find a good place for breakfast. And the day after? Same thing, probably. And the day after that? And the day after that? That sounds nice. Yeah, it does. Outside the ship, the stars stretched on forever. Cold, distant, endless. But inside, 2 beings from different worlds had found something that mattered more than safety, or logic, or pride. They'd found each other, and in the vast, empty darkness of space, that was enough. Yuna squeezed his hand. Good night, Day 1. Good night, Yuna. The ship sailed on through the stars, carrying its crew of 2. No longer running from the past. No longer afraid of the future. Just living, day by day, together, because in the end, That was the human answer to the cold and the dark and the loneliness. Not to hide from it, not to deny it, but to find someone worth facing it with, and to never, ever let them go.